So he drank the awful coffee, day after day, gradually drawing Emily out. He didn't mind that she was quiet. He was too. He knew from the first she wasn't quite right, and that, for some reason, drew him even closer to her. It wasn't curiosity, and it wasn't a Galahad complex. Jack didn't have time for most damsels in distress because all too often the drama was of their own creation. His own romantic experiences had mostly been the short-lived flings of his youth. Just when he might have considered something more serious, he'd gotten into the family's bad books. The attraction he felt to Emily was so strong that he sensed she might be family. But she didn't act like it, didn't know any of the passphrases, and he didn't dare push any further when she kept looking at him like he was crazy, saying things she didn't understand. It had to be going into the sunshine, fresh from a job and taking out a serial killer that very first night they met that made her seem different, he reasoned. But his desire never dimmed. So he continued to stop by the diner whenever he could, and sometimes they'd chat, and he'd swallow the awful coffee, thinking, someday it will be better than this. We'll be together. Then he'd go home and try to sleep, and try to put her out of his mind, and fail at both. His obsession took deep root. He hadn't really meant to follow her home 3 weeks after their first meeting. Their respective paths didn't overlap in any way. He attributed the coincidental change in his route to his well-honed sense for trouble, and he thought he'd managed to keep from being observed following her, another Fangborn skill. It was the 4th time that it happened, what was becoming a habit of sorts, that he realized he was getting hung up on Emily Vargas. Maybe that's why he never picked up that Sully was following him. Hung up was a nicer way to think of it than obsessed. He still avoided using the word stalking, even as he recognized that his actions were those of a stalker. He knew better than most what that meant, and he shivered at the thought even as he brushed it away. Truth be told, there was that particular frisson of joy and anticipation that attended stalker, and he tried to ignore that, too. It wasn't a great way to live, but eventually his patience got him the results he wanted. He woke up one day, 3 months after that first meeting, so filled with the idea of asking Emily out he could barely think of anything else. Jack had reached the breaking point, needing to know how she felt, and suddenly, finding out seemed of even greater importance than the possibility she might reject him. After an interminable day of filing boilerplate paperwork at his insurance job, he went to the diner that evening, reasoning that she'd feel safer than if he'd tried to catch up with her as she left her shift. As she poured him his usual hated coffee, he started in. "Look, I have to ask you something. I'd love to ask you out, but if you don't want to go, it's fine. I'll never bother you again." Once he'd started, the words seemed to come out.